So there'll be several videos on how to troubleshoot your F150 or just Ford window units. I recommend starting with the simplest thing. Now you'll notice other videos about how to take this all off. Here's a step to go through. I thought that it was probably the motor, which is right in here. It goes out. So I replaced it. Still didn't work. So I thought it was the gem bypass. So in one video it shows you how to cut a certain wire, bypass the gem unit. Okay, sometimes that might work. Also the fuse box, you want to check the solenoids in there. You'll hear it clicking sometimes. Well, before I ever took any of this apart, the switch did work up and down, and then it just worked down and stayed down. It wouldn't go up, but as soon as I hit the buttons, I heard a clicking under the dash. So that clicking should have alerted me to something, that something wasn't right in the switch. Now generally, the wiring harness, nothing wrong with that, unless you've got water damage or something like that. But what goes bad are these switches, the up and down switches. And so I replaced a lot of that. I replaced the motor. It's not the motor, still wouldn't work. So the most expensive motor was at AutoZone. It's about 60 bucks, tax, title, license. Was the switch. So, and the way I know it was a switch, how do you know it's a switch? Well, you don't until you replace it sometimes, unless you can do a bench test on it. If you have voltmeters, you can do that. But I just did it by replacing everything and going through all that trouble. Don't. Just start with these switches first. They get dusty, they get nasty, they go out. This is a 99 F150, so it's seen a lot of wear and tear. So to get this out, you just unsnap these on both sides, take out the whole unit, take out the wiring harness or the clips, and then you just replace it, and it works like a charm. So start with the switches. You'll notice one other video on the on YouTube that has just replaced the switch. I wish I would have seen that video first, because I wouldn't have had to take off the door panel or do any wire splicing or go back to the original motor, which is what I'm about to do. I'm going to put the original motor back in because I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and then I'll return the other motor to AutoZone, because this little Hummer was about 96 bucks with taxes, and the motor itself was only $60 with taxes. So smaller parts, more expensive. I guess that's the way it happens sometimes. But if you're going to be redoing, or if your window doesn't roll up and down in your Ford, which, hey, this truck is, what, 17 years old? 18 years old? Never had a problem with the windows before, so good track record. But when it starts to happen, go for this. The way I found out, again, was that after I replaced the motor, did the wiring troubleshooting with the gem switch, so on and so forth, I just simply was working the switches and happened to, with my index finger, push down on these wires, and the window went up. You imagine my surprise and a little frustration. But I'm glad I found out what it was before I went to replace the gem switch or anything. So start with the simplest thing. DIY. Probably would have spent a lot more money had I taken this in, because they would have done the same thing and then charged me all the labor. So I spent about 5 or 6 hours troubleshooting everything, and then it only took me a couple minutes to replace that. Longest part of the trip was going to AutoZone and getting the switch. So 99 Ford F-150. Windows work now. I hope this helps somebody out there.